Excellency Ambassador Milan Verveer, American Ambassador at Large for Global Women's Issues. It's good to have you with us on the program. Your appointment to the position came in June last year. It reflects the importance the Obama administration attaches to women's issues and to integrating these issues in mainstream American foreign policy. Why are women's issues so important at this time, and why were these issues not part of American foreign policy before then?
Well, first of all, I think in some way they always were a part of American foreign policy, certainly in recent years. But the difference today is that we are putting much more emphasis on these issues. It is something that President Obama, as he talked in his Cairo address about the importance of our daughters as well as our sons, something Secretary Clinton has given a great deal of leadership to. It is the recognition that no country can get ahead if half of its people are left behind. We know from all of the accumulation of data today that investing in women has tremendous payoffs for a country's prosperity, for poverty alleviation, even for decreases in corruption. Women are a good investment. We cannot possibly solve the challenges that confront our world, your country, my country, our whole world, unless we really enable women to be part of the solution, whether it has to do with governance or the quality of our environment, security issues, economic issues. Women really need to be a focus of all of those considerations.
You are perhaps doing at the international level what American Ambassador Susan Rice is doing inside the United States, that is advancing women's rights, empowering women, allowing them equal opportunities, with the target date of 2015 for achievement of the Millennium Development Goals fast approaching. We're still getting alarming statistics on the health of women and children, on maternal mortality, and the gender gap remains rather wide in some countries. How are women around the world faring today?
Women are definitely making progress. We not only have the Millennium Development Goals as an important marker, we are observing the 15th anniversary of the UN Fourth World Conference on Women that took place in Beijing. That conference created a platform for action. The platform for action, access to health, education, full economic participation, political participation for women, freedom from violence, it is closely linked with the Millennium Development Goals, which will be 10 years old, and you are right, we are ramping up to a magic year 2015. And the markers are that we are not doing so well in some areas, we are doing better in other areas, and we really have to make a more concerted effort. But they are so linked to women's progress because the third MDG, equality for women, is absolutely essential in realizing all of the MDGs. We cannot make progress on any of them unless women themselves progress, whether it's in terms of political participation, economic opportunity, or education. Certainly girls' education, as well as educating boys. But we know that we are making some very tangible steps. There was a study that came out in the last week on maternal mortality. It has had one of the worst records. We were making the least progress in decreasing maternal mortality. But according to this latest report, we have actually done better than we thought we were doing, which is very, very good news. And I think as our countries coming together with multilateral institutions are putting that much more focus on this issue, we will make even greater progress. In my own country, President Obama has created a global health initiative. That initiative will continue to bring important investments to attacking the infectious diseases like HIV, AIDS, TB, malaria. But it also, for the first time in a significant way, will bring resources focused on the centrality of women to health, their access to a continuum of care, particularly to drive down the rates of maternal mortality and to drive up the rates of child survivability. Because we know a mother's health is so closely tied to the health of her children, especially young children. So we have a long way to go. We have made some good progress, but I think the important challenge to all of us, wherever we live, is that we continue to do better to make sure that as we get closer to the timetable that was established, that we are making greater strides.
As part of UN reforms, a new United Nations entity has been created to mainstream the issue of gender throughout the UN system. Tell us how the Commission on the Status of Women has helped empower women, and how has it improved their lives? What are its priority goals?
Well, this is a very important issue. At the recent meeting at the Commission on the Status of Women that took place a month or so ago in New York, we all came together, all of our countries, to put a focus on the unfinished agenda. What is it we need to take greater action on? Where do we need to put greater resources? What have we learned? What do we know from good outcomes about how we can replicate those good outcomes in other places? How can we scale them up? This is much of what we did during that time. But you also raised another very important issue, which is a new gender entity for the United Nations. This would be a more robust agency focused on women. As you know, there are several entities that exist now for women. Some are small, very underfinanced, and this would be an effort to really create an undersecretary at the United Nations for these issues, because these issues have to be better integrated into everything the United Nations does, including the role of women in peacemaking, because so much of what the United Nations does, in addition to the development piece, is to work on helping ameliorate conflicts. And unless women are part of peacemaking, engaged in negotiations, engaged in holding that peace once it's, the negotiations are concluded, the peace will not hold. So for all of these reasons, there has been a real effort on the part of our countries to work to bring to life this new agency. There is still some work at the United Nations that has to be done to make that possible. But at that recent meeting that you mentioned of the Commission on the Status of Women, a resolution was adopted by consensus that this was a very important undertaking and that we all support an effort to move forward on this. And the Secretary General, I know, is moving this forward as well.
The idea of putting women's rights and their issues on the development agenda first came at the Beijing Women's Conference some 15 years ago. This was a global conference, and it's vital that countries share experiences, learn from each other. It's clear that no country can move forward, as you've said, if half of its population is left behind. So the importance of learning from the success stories of others and bridging the disparities between countries.
Absolutely critical. And we have much that we can learn from each other. When I travel, as I do and as I am here in Egypt now, I have seen many projects, many initiatives, been engaged in many discussions that I can take to other places. We should not repeat what doesn't work. Obviously, our cultures are different, our countries are different, we make allowances for that. But what works, we should grow. What doesn't work, we should try new ways. For example, in working on the issue of violence against women, it is a global problem. It is a scourge all around our world. It is manifested in so many different ways, from domestic violence to rape as a tool of war to child marriage to honor killings, so many ways. And yet we need to better engage in our own societies so that we can address these problems. We know that if men are engaged more significantly in helping create solutions, we will do better. We know if religious leaders are more engaged, we will do better. In my own country, our Congress has just had a bill introduced on international violence against women so that we can provide more support, hopefully, to addressing this issue as there is interest in our doing that around the world. So coming together, collaborating, exploring what we know, how far we need to go, what we can learn from each other, these are all vitally important.